Reality TV meets politics. Rocky Balboa endorses The Apprentice. And Hillary is in a fight for her life against Bernie Sanders. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
We have a lot to talk with you about today, and we're going to put a professional shout out to the Young Turks. They're an online broadcasting organization that has sometimes taken shots at me. And oh, look, they found a voice against ISIS. But that's coming up. If you guys from the Young Turks watch this, just stay focused because I want to take you to school a little bit. Hillary is actually in a neck-and-neck brawl with Bernie Sanders. She's about 3 points up in Iowa, which is within the margin of error. And Bernie Sanders is about 4 points up in New Hampshire, which is just outside the margin of error. This has to have the Clinton campaign having fits. And please understand something. Hillary Clinton, if her name did not end with Clinton, there's no way in heaven or the hot place that she would be the front runner right now. She would not be a contender for the presidency. This is the Democrat machinery wanting frantically to have not only the first black president, which they have, but the first woman president. This is a thank you to her, a payback for her and to her for putting up with her husband's treacheries, betrayals, insanities over his presidency. She did a horrible job as the Secretary of State. She has clearly lied regarding Benghazi and her private email server. There are a lot of reports coming out that she may be indicted for the email scandal. Given all of the baggage that she has and the fact that she stinks in front of a crowd, she's not inspiring. The only reason she is where she is at is because she is the former First Lady. That's it, okay? Small crowds, little enthusiasm. Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, as Sean Hannity calls him, the old curmudgeon, huge crowds of screaming young socialists wanting more free stuff from the government. Only young people, it's not free. Somebody has to pay for it. And someday you're going to find out. Oh, there's a funny thought. These young people that are screaming for Bernie Sanders to get them free stuff, some of them at some point are going to have jobs. They're going to be moderately successful. And they're going to be alive when our economy collapses because the dollar collapses because of our debt. They're going to see the meltdown of the U.S. dollar, and they're going to see perhaps the U.S. government declare bankruptcy or not pay its debt because of the stuff that they got now. The very things that they're clamoring for. Like, let's say that somebody came up to them and said, here, you can have 5 credit cards and a Sears card, a Target card, what are some cool clothing stores? You know, you get all these cards. Macy's card. And now you just go, spend, get what you want, get what you need, get what you deserve, get what the rich people have held back from you. So you go and they rack up all this credit card debt, and then they have their flat screen TVs, and they have their really fine outfits, and they have their iPads and their iPhones and their cool computers and whatever games they want, whatever gadgets, I don't even know. And then the bills start coming in. And then the creditors start knocking on the door. And then people start demanding their money. And they find that they're in a world of hurt because they racked up this debt. They got what they wanted in the short run, but there was a long-term price to pay. That was a very unscripted rabbit trail. Bernie Sanders is, in fact, drawing huge crowds, promising young people more stuff. Young people who have no clue about how government works, economics, debt, solvency, insolvency, moral obligations, never mind the 10 Commandments. I've got to take a break and we'll come back to Hillary. But before I do, let me just point something out. When Adam and Eve fell in the Garden of Eden, God said to Adam, 6 days shall you labor. I'm sorry, he said, by the sweat of your brow, you'll eat, you'll work the earth. Okay? That curse did not exist prior to the fall. It was a punishment. Then the commandment came, 6 days labor, the seventh day rest, okay? The judgment of God looks like heaven compared to the socialists and the communists. God says, you're going to work and earn your bread by the sweat of your brow. Socialism says, you're going to work, earn your bread by the sweat of your brow, and so are a whole bunch of other people. By the sweat of your brow, you're going to put total strangers through college and get them car loans, get them all kinds of stuff. Car loans? I don't know. You heard of the cash for clunkers? I mean, somebody had to pay for that. It wasn't even a car loan. It was just free cash. Do I make my point? Socialism is based on a violation of the commandments of God. You shall not covet. Don't steal. 6 days shall you labor, and on the seventh day rest. Remember that the next time the government is trumpeting, somebody in the government is saying, we're going to give you this. Just say, where'd you get that? Has anyone fingerprinted it? Did you steal that? Friend, we are in the middle of producing a 14-part epic television series called What Would Mohammed Do? Explaining Islam and ISIS to the West. I have a master's degree in international terrorism, and I have studied ancient Islamic texts for over a decade. And we are going to do a very paced and a very scholarly look at Muhammad's life and see the connection of his life to today's headlines. Well, we need your help on 3 levels. 1, we need help with some security measures. 2, we need help with some gear for the studio. And 3, we need help with some computers. I'm inviting you to go to the GoFundMe site that you see on the screen and watch the pilot for episode 1. You'll get a feel for what it's going to be, and I promise you, you're going to be excited. You'll be challenged, and you're going to want your friends to see it. And then after you've seen it, give what you can to help us with this project. Thank you. Well, let's continue with this moment of free association. Billy Bob and I were talking off the air, and he's going to what many Protestants would consider a devout evangelical church. And after the church service is talking with a young man, close to 30 years old, good health. And they start talking about money and what they do for a living. And this young man is on unemployment and on disability. So Billy Bob says, are you disabled? He said, no. Then how's this even work? He said, well, it's legal. It's legal. I'm not trying to be unkind. I know that there are some viewers of this program who are genuinely disabled. There are viewers of this program who are on Social Security. Okay? I want to separate Social Security from the discussion, and the reason is, even though it's a Ponzi scheme, even though it is a generational transfer of wealth, young people are pouring their wealth into the older generation, it wasn't sold that way. It was sold as a type of insurance against poverty for old age. You were going to pay into the system now, and then later you're going to get your money back. That's how it was sold. It was a bill of goods. It was a false deal. Okay, the trust fund, the Social Security Trust Fund, has no money in it. It's full of IOUs. The government's been borrowing money from it. All right, it is a scam, but I'm leaving that out of the equation. Okay? What I'm talking about is the government playing the role of the benefactor, the donor, the one showing compassion. Over the weekend, we watched a 30-year-old movie, made-for-TV movie called The Fourth Wise Man with Alan Arkin, who played a great role, and Martin Sheen. You know, it's very dated, but it was funny. There were parts of it that were truly funny. And in it, Martin Sheen, I'm going to give away the whole movie here. Martin Sheen is the fourth wise man who never catches up with his friends, never finds the Savior, spends his whole adult life in a camp of lepers and beggars that he transforms into a thriving little community. And he gives away the treasures he had brought to save one child's life at Bethlehem, to save a girl from slavery in Jerusalem, and to help build this little community. No, one of them was to get the camels. Anyway, I apologize. So he's giving his life treasures to the poor and the needy. And then after Jesus is crucified and rises from the dead, Jesus comes to Martin Sheen's character while he lays dying as an old man and says, I've received all your gifts. I started to cry. I said, I received all your gifts. I didn't reach you. I didn't find you. He said, in as much as you've done it for the least of my brothers, you did it for me. He said, I was hungry and you fed me. I was naked and you took me in. And Martin goes, no, I've never seen your face. And he said, no, when you did it for the least of my brothers, you did it for me. So he then says, do you see, he says to his friend, he says, do you see, he received our gifts. He received our gifts. And then he dies. Very moving. And it's a really critical part of Christianity. I mean, that's the judgment of the sheep and the goats in Matthew chapter 25. Heaven and hell are in part based, according to the Lord's own words, on what people do to the least of his brethren. You read the passage for yourself. What we have with socialism is the government saying, no, we're not going to have individuals do it. We're going to seize your money. We're going to take your money with the barrel of a gun, because that's what taxation is, the government's authority to put you in jail if you don't pay. We're going to take your money and we're going to decide who gets it. We're going to show compassion. We're going to play the role of the church. That's the problem. The government is not the church. The government does not exist according to the ordinances of God. The government does not exist to redistribute wealth. The purpose of the government is to suppress evil acts through the fear of punishment. Read Romans 13 and see for yourself. It defines very clearly what civil government is for. To punish criminal acts so that evil deeds are suppressed. Others see it and they're afraid. They say, I'm not going to do that. That's what the scripture says. Others shall see and fear, and this wickedness shall be blotted out. Okay? When people say, well, we're not sure if such and such a punishment is a deterrent, of course it's a deterrent. If we didn't fear going to jail or any number of punishments being executed, there's a lot of people that would commit a lot of crimes. It's the fear of punishment for some people that causes them to not act. That's the purpose of government. The purpose of the church, the purpose of the family, the purpose of individuals like the fourth wise man is to show kindness, to care for the needy, to care for their health issues, their clothing issues, their food issues, their shelter issues. This is part of the very fiber of the gospel. And dare I say, even as I run over on my time, I've got to take a break. Dare I say that as you look at the Catholic world prior to the Reformation, even prior to the Great Schism between East and West, the Catholic, the Pope or the Pontiff of Rome, the Bishop of Rome, and the four other patriarchal chairs when the Orthodoxy broke from Catholicism in 1053, okay? You look at the first 1,000 years of Christianity. It was one church, and it was intensely social as well as preaching the gospel. They took care of the poor. Hospitals, as we understand them, originated with nuns and with monks and with priests. That's part of Christian history that we all share, whatever our denominational background, okay? But when you had socialism come out and say, we're going to have a collective body that takes and redistributes wealth, It has actually helped to undermine the beneficent empires it used to be called. Where are the homes from with mothers? Almost all gone. There's just a handful left. You think about it. The government has successfully cut the legs out from underneath the church, told Christian individuals, you don't need to worry about the poor, we're going to take care of all of it. And in the job, has separated men's needs from their soul, from their salvation, which is part of why the church has always reached out to people. And it has given away a lot of money to a lot of people who are just scamming, like this young man who is in perfectly good health and is just a little on the lazy side. He's on disability and on unemployment, and he just doesn't want to go get a job because it's too easy to get money and watch TV. Living off the sweat of someone else's brow. I've got to take a break. I'll be right back. We'll talk about Hillary. We'll talk about Donald. Don't go away. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas referred to John Locke twice in his dissent in the Obergefell decision. John Locke is referred to as the philosopher of American liberty. He was a genius, and he not only believed in natural law, but he believed in revealed law, the Word of God, the law of God. And he is one of the two most influential philosophers on the founders of this republic. We are offering you this book, and I'm going to give you my book as well, The Sword. The Sword, the subtitle is The Blessing of Righteous Government and the Overthrow of Tyrants. It looks at what is the legitimate purpose of government and when is it our right to overthrow government like they did with the Declaration of Independence. We will send you these two books if you simply pay for the shipping and handling, $8, and then give whatever else you want. And by the way, the $8 doesn't cover our cost, but if that's all you can afford, we'll send them to you for the $8. God bless you. You may remember that Senator Rick Santorum prevailed in the Iowa caucus 4 years ago. At first they thought Romney won, but then as it turned out, they did a recount of the vote and Rick Santorum won. Okay? He won the Iowa caucus and clearly did not win the nomination. There have been many such instances in the last 40 years where the Iowa caucus winner did not go on to win the Republican nomination. But it's part of the process, which is good. It looks like Ted Cruz, well, for sure Ted Cruz is a little bit ahead of Donald Trump in Iowa. And folks, let me tell you something. We're just a few weeks out now. The machinery, the Republican machine is having a fit, okay? They don't know what to do because Ted Cruz, an insurgent outsider candidate, is about 4 points ahead of Trump right now. Trump is in second, and then everyone else is way back there. Between the two of them, they have over 50% of the vote. But here's what's even more distressing to the Republican machine. Then go to New Hampshire, then South Carolina, then Florida, and Donald Trump is trouncing everyone. Last figures I read is he's got more than twice of any other contender. Now, John McCain, the establishmentarian or establishment man, has come out and said he wants Rubio. All right, so that, please understand the way these things work. McCain is an insider, and the insiders are talking, okay? He's a total establishment, treacherous, I believe, a Benedict Arnold, okay? So when he comes forward and says, I want Rubio, he's not just saying, I, John McCain. He's speaking for a lot of powerful, big money, treacherous Republican establishment members. Well, Rubio is getting throttled everywhere. I mean, yeah, he's twice what Bush has. Bush is in 5 points, and then Rubio's with 10, 11 points, 12 points. La-di-da. So it's going to be fun to watch what happens in Iowa with Cruz and Trump. It's going to be fun to see what happens with New Hampshire, with South Carolina, with Florida. We're going to see a lot of people just gone. And we're going to see the establishment line up behind Rubio. Okay? Remember this. Donald Trump's service to all of us who love this republic and know the treachery of the Republican Party. His service to us is that he is actually putting them into the wilderness where they belong and giving us rabble a chance to say the truth. Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to run it. No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. There's an online TV broadcast called The Young Turks. You see them here, and from time to time over the years, they've taken shots at me. A broken clock is right twice a day, okay? And whether you fly the rainbow flag or a freak flag or the Confederate flag or the American flag, almost everyone with their head screwed on, even remotely straight, understands that raping women is a crime. It's evil. It's sinister. And our friends over at the Young Turks recently read that the theological list of rights and wrongs for how the ISIS fighters can rape their captive women, okay? And he, the host of the Young Turks deplored it, which I understand, which is good. But what he didn't do, and I'm here to give him the wherewithal if he wants it, what he didn't do is he didn't show that what ISIS is doing is simply repeating the deeds and words of Muhammad. Okay? What ISIS said comes straight out of the life of Muhammad. Listen to me. This is inherent to Islam. Mass rape, the sexual abuse of women, it's inherent to Islam because it's what Muhammad did. For example, God granted Rayhana of the Banu Qurayza to his messenger as booty. You see the reference there. You guys can look it up for yourself. Look at this one. The apostle divided the property, wives, and the children of Banu Qurayza among the Muslims, or he sold their women for horses and weapons. That's from Ibn Ishaq, page 466. If you guys want to do simple, fast research, get a copy of Ibn Ishaq's book, The Life of Muhammad, and you'll see. All right, let me read to you quickly one other thing. Muhammad did this. After Muhammad's men defeated the Jews at Khaybar, they took the women as sex slaves. Quote, the prophet brought Safiya, who he had won from the war booty. The Muslims said among themselves, will she, Safiya, be one of the mothers of the believers, one of Muhammad's wives, or just a lady captive, a sex slave that his right hand possesses? Here's another one. This is right from the ISIS guidelines. It said, it is not lawful for a man who believes in Allah and the last day to mingle his seed with another man's, meaning to approach carnally a woman among the captives, nor is it lawful for him to take her until he has made sure that she is in a state of cleanness. In other words, she's not pregnant. This is what ISIS is telling their men to do, and they're getting their cues right from Muhammad. So let's see if the Young Turks will say that what the ISIS is doing is a perfect reflection of what Muhammad, the founder of Islam, did. Then we'll see the courage that they have.